dudes, HW here. Another beautiful, beautiful morning out here in Nashville. Welcome to Conspiracy Corner with your host, HW, where I share wild conspiracy theories about gear that are probably not rooted in reality, but I've been right about a couple of these before. Did you know I actually predicted the TONEX pedal? True story. I saw that they were making pedals. I started using the software, and I said, I believe they're going to release a pedal any day now. And when I did, I got a phone call later that day from Vintage King that said, you want to come down and see the pedal? It's here. It was right here in Nashville. And then the guys at TONEX reached out to me and said, how did you know? And I said, I don't know. It just seems like a logical thing to do. And they were like, it is. That's why we made it. So I'm going to predict the next product. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I don't have it here. If I did have it here, I couldn't make this video speculating on its existence. I think, personally, that IK is up to something. I really do. And so I'm going to make a crazy prediction that the new TONEX cab is not the only thing we're going to get new from IK Multimedia. Here's my prediction. I predict that they will also, why not just go really deep? I predict that on the last day of NAMM, I predict that on the first few days of NAMM, they will show only to a select group of people a prototype of the new floorboard unit. They're going to be looking for feedback. I predict that on the last day of NAMM, they will have some sort of a release. Here's what the cab's out, here's what we're working on next. And I think they will then use that disclosure at that point. They will then use the sort of response to gauge what features should be presented. I think they're going to do that because I've noticed something about IK Multimedia. They, so far, have not released any TONEX products that sort of really try to bump somebody else out of the market. IK, as I see it right now, is in the mode of looking at the market and looking for the white space on the board. How can we differentiate? Let me give you an example of that. First, they came out with software to capture your amp, and you had to do it on your own computer. And that was fine because they even had a free version. They had everything that you needed right there, and it was the plugin. And at the time, a lot of the criticism was Neural was doing some plugins, but you couldn't capture stuff and put it on there. There's still no QC plugin. They are capturing things, and now you can run them on your QC. So it's a little bit like there's plugins for the QC in that way. Helix had no capture tech. Kemper didn't have a plugin and doesn't. And NAMM really wasn't a thing yet, or it was, but it hadn't been released to us yet. So they came in and sort of offered some people something. There were guitar plugins. They offered capture tech in the plugin. Then they made a product that a lot of people have been requesting. I just want an amp capture device that just does the amps, just does the amps, just does the amps. As a guy in the Kemper world, I heard this for years. Just does the amps, just does the amps, just does the amps. A player unit. And IK swooped in before anybody else did it and said, boom, we're going to do that. Instead of doing a capture unit with like the HX Stomp, and they priced it below the HX Stomp. Then they did something even more sort of white space. They looked and said, nobody does capture tech a single amp in one pedal. Nobody does that. And instead of pushing those price points up, the 129 price point on the TONEX 1 seems very low. I'm looking at this cab now. Now this cab is a bit pricey, $699. But I'll tell you, the more I've lifted it up and everything and looked at it, it's not a chintzy put-together cab. In my opinion, they are trying to build a cab that is roadworthy. And it's a good-sounding unit. I think it delivers on what it wants to deliver on. But it's very obvious to me they're looking at the white space. They're saying, there's really no universal cab out there for everything. And I've said this about a lot of units. The power cab for line 6 is okay. It's great, actually. I've actually really liked that unit. I'm less excited about it now that I've heard something better in about the same weight range. This sounds less boxy and a little more realistic to what I want. The high end is just pleasing to me. I never find myself trying to turn it down. I never find myself trying to turn the high end down. Something I do a little bit with the Line 6, something I did with the Friedman, something I do with the Tone Master. I think you need to put the presence down at like 3.5, 4 to really get it to sound more neutral. And even then it's still bright, plenty bright. So I think there's a little extra presence in that cab. Nice sounding. I've enjoyed using it. And I think largely when you're playing on a loud stage, it might not even matter. Accuracy probably doesn't even matter so much at that point. But this thing sounds lovely. It really does. I would describe it that way. It sounds lovely. But I noticed they did something. They put in the IR feature. And this has very much confused me. Because Line 6 put the IR feature in their power cab. But they did it because if you load an IR, it can save you DSP. You don't have to run an IR in the Helix if you have the IR in the cab. So if you were a person who ran out of DSP, or you were a person who maybe was using the HX Stomp as your live unit, maybe a power cab made sense. You could put the IR in there. It becomes like a powered live speaker, a speaker cab, and which it is, but with the cab sound in there, and all you have is your HX Stomp acting as a sort of amp modeler. Or maybe it was for people who they thought more amp and no cab modeler pedals were coming out. But IK has decided to jump in here, and they've put together a cab, and they have put the ability to load an IR into it. And they have a software coming out for this cab, where I guess you can make some tweaks, you can change some things, and then you can save it. I'll be honest with you. This did not interest me in the least bit at first. And as I've been thinking about it, I looked at what they've done in the past. I don't see them as being a company that makes a copycat product. I've never seen them so far make a product that didn't fill some white space, meaning they look for let me tell you what that means, white space, if you didn't take a community college business class. They say this too in upper education. I had went some other places and they said it too there, but this is where it is. The white space is, you say this company's premium, and up here this company's cheap and low quality. Where's the white space? Where is someone not doing it? Is anyone doing, better quality but mid-level affordable? Where is there room in the market to differentiate? IK has not so far made a copycat product of anybody. They always have some sort of, it's a little different because, and they've tried to bring the price points down. So they're trying to be competitive. There's definitely competition, but they're not coming out with products that have exactly the same spec as other things, except for this product. This really does seem like their version of the power cab. Now, I think they may have built a better power cab, but I look at that IR thing and I ask myself two questions. Are they doing that because Line 6 has that IR feature and they think you need that to outsell the power cab? I honestly don't hear about the power cab a lot. It doesn't seem like it's super popular with people. And I certainly don't hear it as like, oh, the power cab is the preferred thing to use for Axe effects, for TONEX, for QC, for Kemper. I don't hear that. What I do hear is some people use it, and I don't really know anybody who uses the IR feature. So I got to ask myself, did they just put this IR thing in because they thought? Because I'm also at a loss for where are all the units that don't run IRs? Even the TONEX pedal, you gain nothing by turning off the IR in there and putting it there. So it makes me think this product is not designed for the existing TONEX that we have. It works with it, of course, but this product is made in conjunction with another product. Vis-a-vis enter our conspiracy theory. I think they've got it. I think they developed this product and that product together so that they work seamlessly. It's got MIDI. It's got a USB. I bet you anything that new product, you can just program it and it'll work seamlessly, kind of like that Line 6 link thing they did with the Line 6 power cap. I bet this thing will communicate. You won't need to program any MIDI or do anything. You'll be able to control functionality over here. You'll be able to, maybe they'll do speaker emulation, or you'll be able to change the IR running on here and save yourself DSP in the other unit. I think that they have to be thinking, look at the Helix. A unit that most people who use the Helix would say, love the Helix, love the thing. It's great, still just as good as anything else out there. But they will concede the point that DSP can be an issue, especially as newer things come out. Maybe they wish the unit had double the DSP so they could run even more verbs. Maybe they wish it could do as many amps at one time as the QC. You got to think whatever unit comes out next, IK being, a leader in this space right now when it comes to the machine learning aspect. And I say that because they have we now have machine learning AI captures down in the 129 price point on those right? So when I say leaders, I mean they've put it in more people's hands and at a lower price. So I look at this product and I go, I think I'm not seeing the whole thing. I think the board's there. I think it's not ready. I think they have big plans. I think they know they need to copy the Strymon stuff. At this point, if you don't copy the Strymon is to reverb as the DL4 was to delay. If you don't, all delays at some level resemble the DL4. It set the tone. It set the stage. It was the Ford pickup truck, right? All the pickup trucks that follow in this fashion, right? It was the interior of the Model 3 with Tesla. Everyone said, what the heck is that? Look at that thing. That's weird. And now everybody copies it. You have Toyota, Kia. Everybody's car looks like the Spartan interior of the Model 3, a screen and very sleek, right? These people have no imagination. They literally mock something and then they copy it. Okay. I guess that's life. So I'm looking at this going, we aren't seeing the full picture here. They have to be thinking, okay, we got to get full big box delay functionality, full reverb functionality, and we can't miss. And we have to future-proof it as much as possible, meaning if we put out this floorboard, we need to make sure it's like the Kemper and like the Helix, in that 10 years from now, it's still going to be competing with brand new stuff that comes out. So they've got to be thinking, we can put in this much DSP. We can really load it up with what we can do now. We can try to make sure we keep our programming and our algorithms nice and on the light side, sleek, because you can get the same exact sound out of something or get great sound out of a unit and take up a ton of DSP or not a lot. It really depends on the architecture. And this is one of the reasons Kemper is still able to do these incredible reverbs on an older chip. And Christoph's talked about this in videos. But TONEX has to be thinking, we got to future-proof this next big thing. This is the big unit. This is the big $1699 unit that makes it an ecosystem. They have all the... Now here's the other rub. They have all the software on the Amplitude side. Do they want to integrate that in fully? Is it going to be an Amplitude board with TONEX? Or is it going to be a TONEX board? All these products are labeled TONEX. TONEX, 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 TONEX. I think they realize that TONEX is a stronger brand name to the guitar player now than Amplitude, at least with something physical. I don't use Amplitude. I never did. None of the YouTubers I know really ever did. It seems like it was a software that was out there, and some people used it. But in this whole digital adoption timeline, guitar players have gone analog. They've adopted machine learning. I don't feel like we've jumped to like everything Amplitude is great. I don't even see a lot of TONEX players go, and now I use Amplitude too. I just don't even really see that. I see most players still using the amp stuff or the TONEX stuff, and then they mix it with other suites of effects and things. I mean, there's a lot of people using Amplitude. I've used it on so many demos and stuff. I haven't told you that I'm using the effects out of there, but because they are good. But they need new stuff. They can't just repackage it. It feels a little, that would feel a little Mickey Mouse to me. And it feels a little bit, the Amplitude brand to me doesn't feel the most professional in a way that I think TONEX feels a little more professional or a little more like cutting edge, newer thing. And so I'm going to tell you, I think it exists. I think they're going to repackage some things, but I think they're going to remake some new delays, some new effects. They have to have. They just put out some effects algorithms for the TONEX pedal. And they gave us a couple different algorithms. And I'm kind of sitting back on, you gave us a mini sample. You know, you're cramming in as much into this unit as you can to really add some great effects and stuff and really make it. But you're testing the waters to see if people start using it more, what they say about your effects. You're putting it out there. You have this built. I think we're going to see a new unit. I think it's going to be teased, and I think these guys are really smart. They're going to tease it, put it out, and people are going to do the R&D for them, and they're going to sit back and watch, what do people want? What do people want? What are people saying? And I think that's a really great way to make a product. I'll tell you who else did something like that. Doug from Neural Castro, the first year he had the Quad Cortex, I remember I was texting with him. I wanted to try it out so bad. And I sat down with it, and I really hated it because I had a guitar that sucked. And the way Doug was keeping it close to him, I couldn't really touch it. I wanted to touch it and feel it. We had seen everything. I hope I'm not letting this out. You know, Doug let me know later on. He said, yeah, we just had that demo unit. And he said, I knew what would make it crash. Like I knew where the bugs were. So if I just put it in front of everybody and they started, messing around maybe it was going to lock up and freeze. They hadn't done all the testing. It was a demo unit, you know what I mean? And they were early. They didn't have a ton of effects. I remember him looking in there and there was some effects, but they weren't all like available. There was only a couple delays, and he said, what do you want to hear? I remember saying this, what do you want to hear? I was like, I don't know, clean with it. And he like dialed it up for me and showed me what he was doing, but he was smart to protect it because he was showing a prototype that wasn't fully built out. He wasn't sitting in front of the current release version of the software or anything. This was like a sneak peek. And that gave him the opportunity to then listen to the community, get people excited, take pre-orders, develop, flush out an idea. And then as feedback comes back in, you see how people are responding. You see what people say they want, because maybe people's feedback will surprise you. Maybe they'll say, maybe you'll start hearing things like, I can't believe they only gave us 4 reverb types. I can't believe they only gave us 4 reverb types. And then it gives the manufacturer, I'm not saying, this didn't happen with QC, I'm now back to a hypothetical, but it would give someone like TONEX the opportunity to go, we know our product is popular with worship players. They seem to want a lot of reverb. Let's add in some reverbs. Then they can go ask a smaller group of people, in this worship world, what reverbs do you like? And they can go listen to those. And say, oh, people like this. They like this. Let's do more of this. Let's do more of this. Let's add this to the product roadmap in the future for updates too. You might get a lot of people going, oh, this unit is perfect. It's small enough that I can put it with some other pedals on my board. Now all of a sudden, people are going to put this on their board with other pedals. Maybe some of my release material should show that, how easy it is to incorporate into a board. Maybe we should, in our product photos, demonstrate. Maybe this is also for the player who just needs to do a fly date or who wants to replace some effects too. Maybe our marketing needs to rely on that. And maybe people go, this is great. This will take 3 pedals off my board. Oh, people are going to use this also as main drives or main compressors or whatever. Or, a lot of people wish it had more modulation because I know for me, I always want my modeler to have great modulation because there's not enough great modulation pedals that I'm like, I have to have that one. I'm like, if you can give me like 3 or 4 great different ones, like if you got a great trem, a great phaser, harmonic trem, I'm like a chorus, I'm in heaven. There's nothing else I want. And so I'm not going to go buy a whole Mobius. I don't use modulation often enough. Does that make sense? It's a conspiracy theory. And I'll know when I get to NAMM if they show it to me. Now, I might not. I might have to be fingerprinted, and you know, they might blindfold me and take me to an undisclosed location to show it to me, and I might not be able to tell you, at least for a little while. But maybe what I'll do is I'll spell out if it's there by using the first letter of each of my subsequent uploads, so that we'll know HW is spelling out. The first letter of every title spells out new TONEX confirmed. It will take me a while to spell all of that out. But hopefully by the time I get to, if I do new TONEX con, you might think it was a con. So once I get to the F, NEWTONEXCON, it'll take me 12 videos. F. I think on the 13th day, you'll know whether I've spelled it out for you or not. Okay? Thank you for coming to this installment of Conspiracy Corner with your host. I've been HW.